What's going on, hustlers? Back at y'all with another video. As you can tell by the title, we're going to be discussing how to ask manufacturers and distributors for pricing over the phone. So you definitely can be an introvert and still have a lot of success in government contracting. My father, he's very introverted, and he's built $20 million company, $20 million a year company. And then there are some people like Eric Coffey who are super extroverted and they're building 8-figure companies as well. But one of the things that you cannot get around, one of the things that is a non-negotiable is you will have to get on the phone and you will have to talk to people. Now, with that being said, it's always a lot easier to talk to somebody if you can kind of just read things off of a script and you've got it pulled up in front of you and you can kind of navigate and you're almost playing chess with the person on the other side of the phone. And then this right here that we're going to go over is essentially going to give you a template on kind of how to predict what moves they're going to make and then how to make your own calculated moves. So this right here is a document that I use as a phone script that I created. First things first, a couple of things to consider while you're on the phone in government contracting. And this really goes for anytime you're on the phone with anybody in life. Anytime you're trying to close a deal, trying to get a sale, trying to get some information out of somebody. This is just a general rule of thumb. People's favorite thing to hear is their own name. Write it down and repeat it often. Even in in-person conversations, I like to get somebody's name, and then throughout the duration of that conversation, I will, or my night with them, or the time that I'm spending with them, I will make sure I say their name. So if I'm at the bar with somebody and then they tell me their name, they're like, "Oh, hey, my name's Jack." I'll be like, "Oh, pleasure to meet you, Jack." Boom, that's one. And then it'll come up in conversation, and then I'll be like, "Oh yeah, this is my new buddy Jack." Boom, that's two. And then if I'm, going out and I'm like, "Hey Jack, what are you drinking?" or "What are your plans for later on in the day or later on in the night," or something like that. Boom, that's three. This accomplishes a couple things. One, this lets the person know that you're paying attention. Two, the person's going to remember you because you're saying their name. And then three, this establishes kind of a connection with the person. I know I feel a lot better about somebody when I tell them, "Hey, my name is Day," and then throughout the duration of that conversation, they say that. I know next time I see them, I'm gonna remember the fact that they remembered my name. Second thing, make it about bringing business to their company. It is never about you. So I talked about this briefly in my last video about 5 habits that made me a multi-million-dollar government contractor. You can go check that out. But it's always about bringing business to their company. It's never about you. So when I'm trying to get pricing and availability to submit a bid to DLA, I never say, "Hey, give me a quote because I want to sell your stuff to DLA or I'm bidding on this contract." If I'm selling something, right, to DLA, that means I got to buy it from them, which means that's revenue that they can count on their books. So I always say, "Hey, can I drum up some business for you?" Or the purpose for my call today is I'm trying to get some pricing and availability and buy these parts from you. Sometimes I don't even say that I'm bidding on a government contract unless they explicitly ask me who the end user is. Most of the time, I just make it seem like I am buying directly from them, which essentially is exactly what I'm doing. I have to buy it from them, have them ship it to my facility, inspect it, ship it, package it, whatever, and then it goes to DLA. But at the most fundamental level, you're essentially buying something from this company. You are trying to conduct business for them. You want to put money in their pocket. The next thing, your vernacular is important. Do I speak to versus can I speak to? I am very definitive when I speak on the phone. I'm assertive. I'm not overly pushy, but I don't beat around the bush. When you say, "Can I speak to somebody in your sales department?" you give them the option to say yes, no, maybe so. When you say, "Do I speak to the person in your sales department or do I speak to you?" then they're going to say, "All right, well, you can speak to me," or "Yeah, you would speak to the salesperson." So one implies that you're going to do something, you are going to make this sale, you are going to conduct this transaction, and the other one implies that you're asking for permission. We don't want to be asking for permission because oftentimes if you're a brand new company, let's say you're a startup or something, they might be hesitant to do business with you. But when you come off the bat and you're like, "Yo, listen, I'm trying to buy these $50,000 landing gear struts from you," then they're going to be a lot more inclined to do business with you versus "Can I?" And then again, another thing that I touched on in my 5 habits that made me a multi-million-dollar salesman video, which I'll link that at the end of the video for you guys to find it. When you're getting pricing, if you have the ability to negotiate, please remember whoever speaks first or throws out a number first loses. You always want to make sure that you're making the other person give you a number. If they ask me like, "Oh, give me a number. What do you want to pay for this?" I defer and I'm like, "You're the expert, bro. You know this product market. You give me a number." And then if you're not embarrassed by your offer, you didn't go low enough, and then you always want to have a target price. Now, when I say if you're not embarrassed by your offer, I don't mean like blatantly disrespect the person, go low enough within the confines of, what it is that you're discussing. If something is $120,000, don't lowball the guy and be like, yeah, I want to buy it for 60 grand. I'd probably go in at like 90. And even that's only like if I even know the guy. If I don't know the guy, I'll be like, listen, bro, what can you do for me? Best I can do is 100 kind of thing. So don't disrespect the guy. So without further ado, let's get into the script itself. So we're going to kind of go through this, and then I'm going to point out little tidbits of information that I believe are beneficial as we go through it. So this would be you. Hello, this is Day calling on behalf of Namyad LLC. How are you doing today? And they'll usually respond and say, good, how can I help you? Or ask how you're doing. In the event that they ask how you're doing, I always say, I am well. Thank you for asking. You don't want to say, oh, I'm good, and then just start talking. You want to acknowledge that they asked you that, and you want to express gratitude for the fact that they were considerate enough to ask that. So I'm well. Thank you for asking. In the event that they don't ask, I like to say, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today? Or may I ask who I have the pleasure of speaking with today? And then they'll give you their name. So boom, you're already opening the door to build a connection with this person. And then I'll say, I noticed that your company specializes in landing gear struts. As a fellow industry professional, I wanted to reach out and discuss potential opportunities. And then depending on what they say, they might not say anything, and then you can keep talking, or they might give you some feedback based on that. In the event that they don't, then you say, well, I don't know, let's say the guy's name is Michael. Well, Michael, I'm hoping to drum up some business for you guys today. Who do I speak to in regards to pricing and availability? Notice, do I speak to, not who can I speak to? Who do I speak to in regards to pricing and availability? So typically how this works is they'll either help you or they'll transfer you to the appropriate person. Just being 100% transparent with you, if this is not a smaller company, typically they'll transfer you over to somebody else. And then if it's a new person, you just repeat the steps above. So now we've gone through that process. Now, one of the things that I like to mention is always lead with what you do, not who you are. Provide a value proposition. Tell them about your past performance, your experience with the material in the civilian world. So oftentimes people come to me and they're like, hey, do you want to work with me? I'm an SDVOSB, which for those of you guys don't know is service disabled veteran owned small business, or I'm a woman owned small business. I can give a rat's ass about whether or not you're a service disabled veteran because I get approached by tons of companies that do that. But if you approach me and then you're like, hey, listen, I'm a manufacturer. I make all kinds of stuff for the Department of Defense, and we've done stuff with Navy and NICO, but we're trying to do some business with DLA and DIBS. We've done a couple $100,000 in revenue over the past year, and we've got a whole bunch of past performance. We've won, 50 contracts or something like that. I'm way more inclined to do business with that person who then tells me they're an SDVOSB at the end of that spiel than the person who leads with that. Especially if you're a new company, that is one of the biggest red flags that I see is new companies will be like, hey, I'm going to be honest with you. I just want to partner because I'm an SDVOSB. Like, what's your value proposition, right? Like, what do you add to my life? How do you make my life better? How do you make my business run smoother other than the fact that you're an SDVOSB? So you always want to lead with your past performance, or even if you don't have any past performance, you want to say, hey, listen, I'm a startup and we specialize in XYZ landing gear struts. We've done a whole bunch of research and development. We've got a whole bunch of infrastructure set up. We've been contacted by the Department of Defense to secure this material, et cetera, et cetera. So always lead with what you do, not who you are. If you only take away one thing from this video, please let it be don't lead with set-asides or who you are. Because I guarantee you, when you talk to established companies like myself or Two Lions Aerospace, we don't care. So the next thing would be, we've recently helped DoD or specific agency, so in this instance, DLA. We've recently helped DLA secure these landing gear struts quickly and efficiently. I believe we can do the same with the help of your company. My company is a federally recognized government contracting firm, and we specialize in landing gear struts. We were recently contacted by the DoD to assist them with providing this material. So one of the things I want to touch on, my company is a federally recognized government contracting firm, and we specialize in. So everything is about vernacular, verbiage, how you spin your story, right? Even if you've never done any business, if you have a cage code, you're a federally recognized government contracting company. And then you could say we specialize in, even if you haven't done anything with it, the NAICS codes and the FSC codes that you list when you create your company in SAM, you are now legally able to say this is what we specialize in. So everything is about spinning your story. So oftentimes after you say that and you mention the part number and stuff, they'll tell you to email them for a quote. I don't like to do that. I like to keep people on the phone as long as possible. This is how you cut through the noise and stand out. On average, I probably get 80 to 100 emails a day. I can guarantee you the 2 to 3 phone calls that I get every single day about companies that are trying to work with me or have questions about stuff. Those are the people that I prioritize and I respond to, because we live in a world where everybody's a keyboard warrior. Nobody wants to pick up the phone and talk. So the longer you can keep them on the phone to cut through the noise, it's going to help you stand out. So if they do tell you to email, I always like to say, hey, listen, I understand that emailing is super convenient, but given the urgency of this request, I think a brief phone call could help us expedite the process and ensure accurate pricing and availability. So then they'll give you pricing and availability, and you'll go from there. Now, one thing I want to mention, which it's not counterintuitive. You want to get your pricing over the phone. You want to get the person to trust you enough to give you that over the phone. But in government contracting, everything has to be in writing. So you want that person to give you the email confirmation for the pricing and availability after you get off the phone. So that's something that we touch on here. And one of the things that I want to mention is it says, if you're forced to email, open it with, good afternoon, per my phone conversation with Mike, I'm looking for pricing and availability on the material. In the event they quote you over the phone, thank you so much for this, Mike. Can I get this quote in writing? Also, could you please provide me with your contact details, including your email address and direct phone number? This will help me reach out to you directly when we're ready to proceed. So oftentimes if you're dealing with a big company, they might have, a sales phone number and then 8 people pick that up. That's how it is at Two Lines Aerospace. We have a Two Lines Aerospace number, and then everybody in the bullpen's phone rings, and then depending on who picks it up, that's the person that handles that issue. And then if it's something specific, then you'll transfer it. But if it's just sales or something like that, anybody will pick it up. Again, you need everything in writing, so you have a paper trail for each government request. Typically, they'll say yes or give you the contact person of the info in their sales department. And then I always just like to close it off with, thank you for your time and assistance, Mike. I appreciate your help, and I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. So super straightforward, not long. You don't need the fluff. You don't want to waste these people's time either. So that is how you get pricing and availability over the phone in government contracting. So I hope you guys take this, you use this to make you guys some revenue. And as always, I'm watching you guys and cheering you guys on.